In this particular tutorial, we are going to be looking at something different. We are going to be looking at how you can extend DevLess either by contributing code back to it, back to the framework itself, or developing modules. And in either cases, the first step you would need to take is to set up a development environment, which I'm going to show you in this particular video. So let's get right into it. The first step you would have to take is to clone the DevLess repo itself, which is found on the GitHub page at github.com/devlessteam/dv.php core. So let's go ahead and then clone this repo. So let's clone https github.com/devlessteam/dv.php core. Alright, so now that I have the repo cloned here in dv.php core, the next step is to install Docker. Well, in my case, I already have Docker, but if you do not have Docker installed, obviously you need to get it installed. And the reason we need Docker is the way we develop DevLess is yes, you can install everything you'd need locally from the server to the database you need to run the framework, but then we bundled it all into a Docker image, so you don't have to install anything onto your machine itself. All you need to do is pull the Docker image and then you have this available. So to get Docker installed, depending on your OS, the process is a little bit different. For Mac and Windows, you just have to you need to install. There's a package you download and then you install. For Linux, most Linux distros, a simple command like sudo apt-get install docker.io can lead to you having Docker installed. It's that simple, it's that clean. But to check out all the available ways to install Docker, I would advise you head over to the official website. Yeah, for the official website, and then you can follow the process to get Docker installed onto your machine. So once you have Docker installed, what you want to do next is run the following command: docker run. So now, for most Linux users, you would have to be appending sudo to each and every command you run, else the daemon is going to yell at you. So let's go ahead and then create a Docker container out of the DevLess image itself. So here I'll specify docker run p meaning the port. So the port on which I want this new container to run, I could specify whichever port I want, 3030, 4545, whichever port I want. But then this port needs to be tunneled or needs to be tied to port 80, which is 80 is the open port of the server running in the container. So this is fixed, it's a port running within the container, and 4545 is the one I want. I'm exposing 80 within the container to 4545 on my local. So once I have the port specified, one other command is d, which means I want to run this in a detached mode. I don't want commands flowing over on my screen. And the next one is a volume, creating the volume. So now let me explain about volume real quick. So volume would allow me to be able to assign my clone of DevLess into the container. So the container is this black box that has everything I need to run the server, but then I need to tell it which source code to run to use within the container. So it's dv.php core, which is what I just cloned. So I need to set a volume for that. So I'll specify where my project is on my laptop, users, Mac, work area, tutorial, and then dv. So this is where my project is, and then bind it to a folder within the container, which is in var www HTML. So if you are familiar with running a server, maybe in Nginx or Apache, you know mostly your project resides in the var www folder. So in our case, the container will be expecting a source, the source we want to run in this particular folder. That's why we are binding this here that we've downloaded to this within the container. Cool. So now once we specify the volume, the last thing we need to do is specify the image itself, the DevLess image with which we want to run this. Now, one very important thing is the fact that you need to make sure this is an absolute path. You don't want to be you don't want some loose path. You need to make sure your path is absolute, which you can check. So you can find your current path using pwd. You can type that in the terminal and then find your current location that you can use to that you can use to create your volume. So let's go ahead and run this. Good. So now once I have this running, I can run the command docker ps. Again, if you're on any other Linux distro, you might want to append sudo here. In my case, I don't need that. And then you see here my new container is running, and this is the container ID, and you see it's exposed at 4545. So just before we view it in the browser, I want to get into this container. It's as simple as doc-exec it then the container ID number, so 5c, and then bin bash. Alright, so now I've gained bash access into the container, so I want to move into cd.html, which is where my current source resides. So let me ls, and then here you see all the files from the project I cloned from GitHub. So let's go ahead and install our PHP dependencies. Great. So now after running composer install, now it pulls in all my dependencies, and now I have everything I need to run DevLess. But just before we go on, I would like to, so one last thing I'll do is rerun my migrations. So that's migration refresh. And here I see I have issues with my migration, and that's because I've not set up my environment variable. So let's go ahead and then do that. So now I can open the source. I can go ahead and then run my the source. That's the project we clone. Since now it's tied to the container, I can go ahead and then open this up and then edit it. So that should be work area tutorial, I think. Yeah. Tutorial, the PHP core. Okay, and then now head over to the .environment. I'll change this to MySQL, and then provide my database settings. So now this database settings I'm providing here, it's to connect it to the database that came with the Docker image I pulled in. So you know, like I explained earlier, the Docker image you pull contains the database, contains the server, contains everything else you need to be able to run DevLess, so you don't have to install them individually. It's all bound together within the Docker image. So now let's go ahead. Now that I have my configuration set, let's go ahead and then run the migration. Yeah, so now the connection was established, so my migrations were able to run. One last thing before we go ahead and open this in our browser is to change the permission settings. So changed my environment and variables check. I'll exit the container, so now I'm on my desktop and not in the container anymore. Go ahead and clear my screen, ls, just to be sure we are on the container, we are out of the container here. And then now we can go ahead and then visit our ports. I think it's 4545, right? So let's go ahead and head over to 4545. And then here, now you see my newly installed DevLess instance. So I'll go ahead and then set up. And so what is really happening is through the container, I have a database, I have the server, and this source code, my source, and then the source code I put from GitHub. Now I'm able to use the project. So the project is through the project on my local is available in a container that contains the environment to basically run my projects. Docker can be hard to grasp if you don't understand the concept of containers, but it's okay. You don't need to interact with it much whilst you develop DevLess or contribute back to the framework. So now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly create a service just to show you that, just to prove that this is bound to the source code we downloaded from GitHub. So now I've created a service and this should be available within the source. So I'll go ahead and head over to service views, which is where the views for every service is stored. The views for every newly service is stored. So you see, once I created the service in resource view, service view, I have a folder named which contains an action class, which would go into once we start module development. But basically now my instance here has its source here. So now any modifications I make will show up here. And just like in any other development, now I can push this to GitHub, do whatever I want to, send in a pull request, it's my own branch, the whole normal development flow. One last thing I would like to mention before I end this tutorial is the fact that once you shut down your laptop or machine or whatever, chances are this is going to go off. Chances are you're going to lose this. The reason is, it depends though. It depends on the way your Docker, you have your whole Docker setup. So let me show you, in the case you come back and this is all gone, how you get it back. So I'm going to stop the container that is currently running. And then now let's try going somewhere else. You see now my container is not running. So the way you can find out, you can check out the container, which is, you can find the list of containers which are not running by the list of all your containers you've ever run by running the command docker ps/a sorry, what the heck, /a, I think, yeah. And this will list all the containers you've ever run. Again, reminding Linux users, you need to append sudo. You might need to append sudo to get this to run. So here I see the last image I ran, which was stopped 16 seconds ago, which is this, which is what we were actually running. I can bring it back by typing docker start and then specify the container ID of the one I want to run again. So I'll go ahead and then run this. And if I come back here, sure enough, my container starts running again. And if I do docker ps, yeah, you can see it's running here. So yeah, and one last thing, always remember, Linux users, unless you set up your permissions right, you would need to append sudo to be able to run your docker command. So yeah, that was a quick one showing you how to install DevLess using Docker, and then how to expose your source code so that you can do some development either to the framework itself or write some code for your new module. So yeah, I think that will be all for now.